best places to live in Houston isn't even technically in Houston. We have clients moving here from all over the country, and when they're looking for a short commute, they want to have a large lot with great, parks, outdoor spaces, good schools, a strong sense of community. They often wind up in the city within the city that happens to be Bellaire, Texas.
And we're going to be covering the pros and cons of Bellaire so you can determine if that's a place you want to live. And we're getting after it right now. Welcome back. This is the Living in Houston, Texas channel, where we tell you the good, the bad, the ugly, the ins and outs of living here in Houston, Texas. If that's what you want to know more about, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell. That way you're notified every time we put out a new video. So whenever you or anybody you know is getting ready to move here to Houston, Texas, give us a call, send us a text message, shoot us an email. Any which way, we've got your back when moving here to Houston.
So, Bellaire, Texas is located pretty much in the center of Houston. It's not far from downtown. Part of Bellaire is actually inside the loop, and the other more larger part is actually outside the loop, which is a pretty unique. There aren't any other neighborhoods I know of that are partially inside the loop and outside the loop. So that's, a unique thing. But the proximity to downtown, Galleria, the medical center, all of that is just pretty fantastic. So we just wanted to give you a quick lay of the land so that you know where Bellaire, Texas sits. And we're gonna get into our first pro, which is?
The fact that it actually is its own city. It has its own city government, its own rules and regulations, which can be in its own city services.
That's right. So it's got its own fire department, police department, city council, mayor. They've got their own public works, their own library. They even have a fabulous recreation center. And I think one of the biggest pros about it being an independent city within the city of Houston, Houston's very large, like within Harris County, which is where the majority of Houston proper sits. Yeah. And the building, because there's so much building that goes on, not to knock the city, but I think that the building codes / inspectors are a little bit more, probably not the codes, but the inspectors tend to be a little bit more lax. I think a lot of things get by that shouldn't. Whereas in Bellaire, you're talking about a much smaller community, and so the standards tend to be much higher. Yeah. So I think that the quality of construction often is just simply better.
And builders will choose to work in Bellaire, similar to like West U, because the process of getting the building permits done, getting the inspections done is just so much more efficient within Bellaire than it is within the city of Houston proper.
Exactly. So that's our first pro. So the first con that we're going to talk about, because we're keeping it real here, is property taxes. They tend to be on the high side. Now, that's not saying that they're the highest in the whole Houston metro area. In fact, where we live, it's slightly higher. But it's something to consider when you're moving here, and something you should just definitely know about beforehand. Yeah. The tax rate for Bellaire for 2022 was 2.2271%. Now, there's a secret kind of bonus that offsets that, and which you may or may not know, moving to Texas in general, there is no state income there is no state income tax. So oftentimes the fact that you've got this property tax with no state income tax, it winds up as a wash for a lot of people. For some people, it actually puts them ahead of the game. So that's kind of our secret pro is that, so the silver lining on the property taxes is that in Texas, you can apply for your homestead tax exemption if it's your primary homestead, which will save you up to 20% of your taxes. So we definitely recommend, and we work with all of our clients once they close on a new property, to file that homestead exemption form right away with the county. That way you will start saving the very first year that you are living there.
Yeah, and that's a new law or new regulation where the homestead exemption comes into effect once you move there, you don't have to wait to the next year,
Right.
next January, and that's new, like just this last year, right?
Like within the last 2 years. It used to be that you would have to be living on the property as of January 1st, but they've changed that now, so we don't have to worry about all that. And also, we do recommend that you protest your taxes every year to keep that number down, and meaning the value, because the appraisal district will come in and value your property each year. And so we're always here to help give advice on that as well, and help you. We're not professional protesters, but we're always happy to provide you with comps and information that will help you through that process.
So the next pro is zoning, proper zoning and planning. So the city of Houston is notorious for having no zoning and no zoning laws and regulations. So it's really up to the individual HOAs and sub-communities to do it. And within the city of Bellaire, they have very defined zoning laws and very defined zoning districts for retail, commercial, industrial, and of course residential. And then
it's mainly known as a residential city, but there are a few high-rise office buildings that are located right by the 610 loop, so they're right by the freeway.
And also the retail centers.
And then you have retail centers, which of course you actually want because you want to have restaurants and shops. But they tend to all be kind of located on like Bellaire Boulevard or some of the main streets, so they're not sprinkled out within the neighborhood. So the reason that having zoning in Bellaire is so desirable is within City of Houston, there is no zoning. And that can be a real detriment.
One of the next cons is its lack of walkability and lack of public transportation. That's not devoid of public transporation, but it's just not nearly as
convenient. Yeah, it could be a lot better.
It can be a lot better.
You've got a little over 17,000 residents. And you've got a transportation score of 45.
Wow.
Which is pretty low, and a walkability score of 52, slightly higher than the transportation score.
But that's pretty typical for Houston overall, right?
It is.
Yeah.
That's very typical. Okay, so a little tidbit of history about Bellaire. A gentleman by the name of William Wright Baldwin, who was the original developer of Bellaire, incorporated the Westmoreland Railroad Company to build an electric streetcar known as the Toonerville Trolley. And it went up and down Bellaire Boulevard, and it actually connected, I think, somewhere in the Med Center and then went to downtown. Like there were some other streetcars that it connected to. And it started running in 1910, and it went all the way through towards the fall of 1927 when they replaced it with bus service. But that original trolley is still parked there right along in the middle of the Esplanade down Bellaire Boulevard. So that's a kind of fun little piece of history that you can go see. Just to throw out some more of the pros, we wanted to give you some commute times. So if you're going to the airport, which HOU is Hobby, it's like an 18-minute drive. If you're going to Bush Intercontinental Airport, it's about 28 minutes, so about half an hour. And if you're going downtown, it's 10 minutes by car, so pretty quick.
Med Center is just a hop, skip, and a jump.
Yeah, the Med Center is probably going to take you about, depending on the time of day, maybe
5-10 minutes.
10 minutes, yeah. So super easy commute. We have a lot of physicians that we know of and clients that live in Bellaire because of that reason.
So the next pro is an abundant outdoor space, but not just abundant, but really nice.
Very nice outdoor space. So we're going to put a list of the parks up for you here on the screen. There's just all kinds of choices for getting outside. And so if you're an outdoor person, if you've got kids and they want to have activities. So one of the most popular spots in Bellaire is Evelyn's Park Conservancy, which is just an amazing space for the community that the Rubenstein family donated. And it's just incredible. It's 5 acres of green space, and there's all kinds of activities going on. So things like, if you want to get your fitness on, you can take Pilates, Zumba, Tai Chi, and they have weekly classes. I think pretty much every day there's a fitness class or 2 or 3 going on. They've got an awesome restaurant called Betsy's, and it's from the same people who did have Adair's Kitchen, Eloise Nichols Grill, which we love, Babita's, Scooter's Mesquite Grill, and Los Tios Mexican restaurants. So highly recommend going and checking out Betsy's. You can sit, they've got a butterfly garden, so you can sit and read a book and just hang out and chill. They've even got an event space, and on Thursday and Friday nights, sometimes they have live music, so that can be a lot of fun. You can take the whole family. They even have art classes. They call it Art in the Park, and it's kid friendly, so I think that's pretty cool. They've also got board games and bubbles, so you can go play board games and blow bubbles if that's your thing. They've even got a weekly circle time. Anyway, we're gonna put a link in the description so you can find out more and everything. They've got a schedule of everything they have going on, but it's a beautiful space, and it's right there. It's actually just inside the loop in that section of Bellaire. So they've also got the Bellaire Town Center, or I'm sorry, not Town Center, Town Square Aquatic Center.
Oh yeah.
Which is hugely popular. So if you like to swim or you have kids that like to swim, big bonus for living in Bellaire. They've got a water slide, a 0 depth entry, lots of play features. They've even got like a neighborhood pool with lap lanes. They've got a high dive and a competition pool. So that's pretty cool. And then they also have the Evergreen and Elaine Wood therapy pool. So that's like got the neighborhood pool with lap lanes again, and also the heated therapy pool. So if you've got, some kind of physical therapy, I guess you need to do, that's the place to go do it in the warm water. They've also got Bellaire's Nature Discovery Center, which has nature trails and I think hands-on like a nature and science museum.
Bellaire is known for its sports league for all ages. As a matter of fact, I think we'll show it here in the drone footage where it talks about the Little League, the national championship. They've won it a couple of years in a row there. But it's not just baseball. It's swimming lessons, activity center, you name it, and soccer.
They even have like specialized programming for seniors citizens.
Right.
So from babies on up to seniors, got you covered.
So one of the cons is relatively high property prices. The average single family home within Bellaire is just over $1 million. Now, that's not nearly as expensive as some of the other neighborhoods that we've done videos on, like River Oaks or Memorial Villages or even Tanglewood or Afton Oaks. However, it's a lot more expensive than, say, trying to find a home out in the suburbs.
And you're paying for convenience, right? I mean, that's the trade-off. And you're gonna have a lower gas bill, which right now is, it's pretty impactful. So it's a con, but there's a silver lining with that con. So you can get a 3-bedroom, 1-bath home that's basically a tear down. It might have some updates, like built in 1955, decent lot size, 7,800 square feet. And you can get that for around $389,000 today. Again, we're in November of 2022. Those numbers, obviously the real estate market can change and does change frequently. With the most expensive house coming in at $3.9 million. Now that's for a 6-bedroom, 6 full bath, 2 half baths, built in 2008, was 7,800 square feet on a 30,000 square foot lot. So just about half an acre. That's substantial. That's a big lot.
Yeah.
For Bellaire. And that house actually was pretty special. It was designed by a renowned architect, Mark Mukasey, who also designed the Houston Holocaust Museum. Just a little tidbit. Anyway, that house happened to have a full batting cage set up with like commercial lighting and a swimming pool and 3-car garage. I love to look in these houses because that particular family that sold it was using one of the 3rd garage bay as a pottery room. And they even had a kiln in it, and anyway, I thought that was kind of cool. So Bellaire has mainly 2-story homes that have more spacious lots than some of its bordering neighborhoods.
Yeah.
The homes range from, pretty traditional to some very contemporary homes,
Yeah.
Bellaire offers something for everybody. I think from the range of sizes, price points, and styles, you can pretty much find what you're looking for there.
So Bellaire, one of the next pros, Bellaire is historically known for having pretty good or above average schools.
Mm-hmm. And, interestingly enough, it is a part of the Houston Independent School District.
Mm-hmm.
However, the schools that happen to be in Bellaire tend to be very good schools. And so a lot of people do move to that area for the schools, for the public schools. However, there's a really high profile list of private schools as well that a lot of people do send their kids to. So you've got Episcopal High School, which is just on the other side of, or just on the inside of 610 Loop. You've got the Post Oak School, Congregation Brith Shalom, and the Veritas Christian Academy. So you've got a good selection of both private and public schools. And we'll have links down in the description for all of those. So you can look up the ratings and, check them out.
So speaking of schools, one of the most famous alumni from Bellaire High School, Roger Clemens.
Oh yeah. And Chuck Knobloch.
Yeah.
I think he went there too. So if you don't know who Robert Clemens is, Roger. Oh God. Hold on. For those of you living under a rock, including myself.
Robert Clemens.
So the absolute worst con about living in Bellaire, in our opinion, is that it's in the flood zone. Literally, I think the whole city pretty much is in the 100-year floodplain. So that's a big thing for multiple reasons. And we're going to tell you a little bit about what the city is doing to counteract that. So first of all, we've got the map up so that you can see, and you'll see that it's kind of a lavender purple color, which means it's in the 100-year flood zone, which means that you have a 1% chance.
Any given year, you've got a 1% chance or better that it floods.
So they've got new laws now.
Yeah. So basically, if you get any kind of permitting, if you're doing any modifications, if you're doing any remodel of the house, you have to get a new elevation certificate showing that the house is actually above by 1 feet, 2 feet above the 500-year floodplain. So what you'll see is, as you're driving through, all the new construction and all the houses that have been updated and been remodeled, especially after a flood,
like Harvey,
have all been elevated up out of the flood zone.
So Bellaire is very close to Brays Bayou, which is supposed to help, carry all the water out of Houston. With all of the growth of Houston, the system hasn't been able to handle all of that. So they've been doing a lot of work with the drainage all over the city.
Over $1 billion, but most of it was focused in along that Brays Bayou to make it much more efficient and to relieve the potential of flooding in the future.
Yeah. So, between the new laws of building up, which we think is great because that's really the best way to protect yourself. Because once a house floods 3 times, you can't get it insured.
Right. And with Brays Bayou, what they did is they deepened it, they widened it, and they raised up the berms that protect it.
And we are not insurance experts,
Yeah.
right? So we are always going to refer you to talk with an insurance person. And one of the things that we advise people to do when they're buying a house here is when they're in the option period, we strongly recommend that you shop for your hazard and flood insurance during that time, because you can't get out of a contract because insurance isn't affordable. So just as a little public service reminder, that's something that we always encourage our clients to do, because it is going to be a little bit more expensive when you live in the flood zone than if you're in a zone X, which is a non-flood zone. However, there are so many pros to living in Bellaire that we wouldn't let that deter us. And, I think just being prepared, right? Buying an elevated house, carrying the right insurance. I mean, all of those things make a huge difference.
And we also advise our clients anywhere they move here to Houston,
Get flood insurance.
get flood insurance, because what floods, what doesn't flood changes every storm.
It does. And, so overall, I think we both think that Bellaire is a pretty, just friendly neighborhood. It has like friendly neighborhood vibes.
Yeah.
When you go there, it seems like people really get to know each other, know their neighbors. You'll see people out walking their dogs, are out running, walking, that kind of thing. But, a lot of these residents are on a first name basis with each other. So there's a strong sense of community, which is appealing to us. Most residents who move to Bellaire don't leave. They tend to stay.
Yeah.
And we like too. It's very intergenerational. So you'll have young families, and you'll also have empty nesters, and everything in between. They're known they've got an annual July 4th parade that they do every year. That's pretty popular, and all kinds of holiday celebrations. I think they do a holiday in the park. And they basically take the Bellaire Town Center and they turn it into a winter wonderland, which will be happening pretty soon because we're coming up on the holidays this week, actually. Anyway, it's just a quaint, safe neighborhood that's in close proximity to the heart of the city, and we think it's a great place to live. Yeah, and today we've given you what we think is a pretty clean snapshot of the good, the bad, and the ugly. Yep. If you have any questions about Bellaire or are interested in taking a tour or learning more, give us a call, shoot us a text, schedule a Zoom call. We'd love to help you with your move to Houston.
Hey, if you stuck around this long, be sure and give us that thumbs up, give us that like. It helps spread that news to everybody else that might be interested in it. If you have any constructive feedback or any comments, put it down in the comments below. If there's a part of Houston you want to know more about, put it in that comment section. We'd love to do a video for you.
Till next time.
Bye-bye.